are saying Jiminey Cricket's Corner.
When you get in trouble and you don't know right from wrong. When you get in trouble and you don't know right from wrong. When you get in trouble and you don't know right from wrong.
Bitch, how motherfucker dare you come on? When you get in trouble and you don't know right from wrong, give a little whistle. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Jiminey Cricket's Corner, taking my own advice. As always, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching all of the prior episodes and really engaging and supporting me throughout this venture. Hopefully you guys are doing well, but with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get this episode started. So, one of the things that I feel like, again, that I've been dealing with personally on a day-to-day basis, and especially here within the near future, is dealing with conflict. All people are not the same. So obviously you're gonna butt heads with people, and it's just the nature of interactions or communication or whatnot. So I think that's something to be expected. But of course, we each have our own personal ways of dealing with them and navigating around them, and the way that they leave us when we have conflicts with certain types of individuals. So of course, naturally, because of the whole premise of this show, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of what I'm going through, some of my experiences, and maybe give you guys a little bit of advice. And so as I've gotten older, I've learned that every conflict is not worth all of your time and energy putting into it to fight, and that's physically, verbally, or mentally, or trying to hurt the other person, because a lot of times you recognize that all of that effort and energy really goes nowhere, and you're just expending it out into the environment for no type of reason or no type of positivity being brought back to you. But I've also learned as well that a lot of times we feel like the best way to approach a situation is to avoid any type of conflict like the plague. I'm always used to giving quotes and stuff that I've always heard of, or people that, quotes from people who have always told me and that I've hold dearly. I'll never forget, my grandmother and my mother always said, there's just going to be some conflicts that you're just going to have to face head on. Trying to, dance around it or tiptoe around whatever the issue is ultimately gets you nowhere, because the conflict still exists. So in a lot of instances, it's good to just go ahead and just have that sit down talk and go ahead and have that sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes awkward, and sometimes off-putting conversation if the goal is get to a better place. So my first piece of advice would be, I think you have to really look at the person who you're having the conflict with and decide if this is a relationship or a connection that you feel is worth expending time into, or trying to get over whatever the conflict is to, better whatever your circumstance is. Another thing I'm learning is that, hey, especially as I get older, every connection is not meant to last forever. So sometimes you might end up fighting for something that really ultimately was not worth the fight. So you have to be able to distinguish between the two and decide if this is something or a person that you want to keep in your life and actually have them around, I guess, to celebrate your, accomplishments, to go down through the mud with you, and to be able to have that longevity, because everybody's not meant for that role within your life. Now, if you come to the conclusion that this type of connection that you have with this person is worth saving, or you want to be able to continue this connection on, I think then two things that a lot of people seem to get confused about having a conflict or discussion. I think a lot of times people feel like when a discussion is had, that means that either one, there's a clear winner and there's a clear loser, and that two, my sole objective is to beat you. When we have a conflict, in my opinion, depending on the type of relationship that you have with the person, I would assume that the purpose of you guys sitting down and hashing it out or going ahead and talking about the way that you feel or what took place is simply because you want to be able to come to some sort of an understanding. Now, remember that understanding may be the learning how to agree to disagree. I think once you recognize that, you learn how to go into discussions and not feel like if I don't win or if I don't convince this person that my way of thinking is the correct way, then I've lost. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people, is that we feel like if we don't convince them that our way is better, we've lost. And, I want to be the winner. I don't want to be the loser, because if I'm the loser, then I'm the weak one. And I feel like I've been defeated. I think when you love or when you care for somebody or somebody in your life means a lot, then you learn that there's a bigger picture. And that on some level, you have to be able to say, okay, you know what? What do I want from this? I had a good friend named Charles, and he always gave me the quote, what do you want? Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? Because sometimes the two cannot coexist, and it's up to you. So I think that's definitely step number one, is recognizing that, this is not a competition of sorts. You don't have to necessarily beat the other person out and show them that everything that they thought that they were doing was wrong. That shouldn't be the necessary ultimatum. 2, and this is another thing that my mother always told me. Every conflict does not have to be resolved with yelling and screaming and hocking and spitting and cussing, because again, when you're conversing with somebody, most people, when you come on the defensive or when you're ready to attack, they're going to go on the defensive and they're not going to hear anything you have to say. Hence, the conflict never gets resolved, because all we're focused on is I'm being attacked, I have to defend myself. You're not really focused on, okay, let's try to fix the problem at hand. Let me see why this person might be mad. Let me try to figure out a best way to resolve this issue. Most people are going to say, well, this person's hurt my feelings, so I'm going to hurt them back in return. And then when you get into that kind of realm, now things are being said, done, situations are being brought up that really essentially are just being done to hurt the other person. And so always remember that there is always a respectful way to say anything. You can always get your point across. I can remember being brought up believing and knowing, or being taught that you respect your elders, or there are certain things that you don't say around certain groups of people. You don't cuss around your elders or certain public figures. You don't talk about certain things, or you don't listen to certain things. With that being said, a lot of times you get a lot of people who say, well, older people, they can be wrong, or public figures, they can be wrong, and that is true. That is very true, as a matter of fact. At the same token, you guys, though, there's always a respectful way to be able to say, hey, I hear you, but I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying or your thoughts or just what you're doing right now. And again, they say, what's the saying with the honey and the vinegar or whatever? You're more likely to get a better response out of people if that's how you approach them. If you approach them from a way of, I'm not trying to attack you, I just want to resolve this issue, if that's what you want to take place. Once the actual, the conversation works and, you guys are talking and maybe you guys are hashing it out, you're getting to the bottom of everything. I think it's important to say that once you get to that conclusion, now you've solved everything, everything's been brought out on the table, you guys, and another key point, always make sure that you're truthful in everything that you say. This is not a time to be deceitful or to leave certain things out. This is definitely a time to be truthful in what you've said or what you may have done or what you may have believed to have taken place, because again, that's where the healing takes place. You can't grow or you can't heal if we're not being 100% honest about everything that's taking place. But anyways, like I said, once you guys have kind of hashed it out and everything has been said and done, now it's time to decide if going forward is something that you want to take place. Again, there's nothing wrong with being able to say, hey, I'm glad we solved the conflict, but I think at this point it's probably best if we just go ahead and split ways or separate or whatever the case may be, because again, now you are showing that you know your self-worth, what you're worthy of and what you want and what you will, stick around for, the way that you will allow yourself to be treated. Because again, another quote, we show people how to treat us. We, allow certain types of behavior. And the ones that you don't accept, you can show people, hey, I don't appreciate this and I'm not going to allow this. And then you go from there. So, I think a lot of it, and again, it's funny because I think I told you guys in a previous episode, me and a couple of my friends are actually following the Bible app by YouVersion. And so each week we'll do like a little Bible study plan. And then at the end of the week, we'll go ahead and sit down and talk about it and, talk about what we've learned and, going forward, how we plan to proceed with the knowledge that we have now. And ironically enough, this week's topic is how to have those conflicts, or how to get through those tough conversations. I will say this. One of the things that I'm actually learning from this week's lesson is that you have to have a nice balance. Like I said earlier, everything does not necessarily have to be aggressive. You better listen and I'm going to get my point across and you're going to listen to me. On the other hand, avoiding the conflict, not wanting to talk about it. You don't want to be rude or you don't want to hurt anybody's feeling. That's not going to get you anywhere either. Because at the end of the day, you're stifling your thoughts just to try to make sure that you don't come off or look a certain way. Or you're not giving yourself the benefit of being able to say, I'm letting my own truth be heard. And at the end of the day, if, like I said earlier, if you guys plan to bring some type of resolution to the conflict, both parties have to feel like they are both equally being heard, that, both of their opinions or their thoughts about the matter are well respected, even though they don't have to be agreed on, that at least that they're respected, and that they can both walk away knowing that if nothing else, when proceeding forward, if they choose to still interact, that both parties know where each other stands. And I think that's the thing about finding the happy balance. You can't be too direct, but then you can't be too lackadaisical. It has to be a nice middle balanced place where you know kind of how to proceed forward with the other person. Again, we're all at different levels. I, again, was one of them that, at one point in time, I ran away from conflict in my life. At another point in time, I felt like I had to get you told and tell you about yourself. And so, again, it's all a learning process. And like I said, the beauty that I like about this particular show is that I feel comfortable being able to sit down and tell you guys, this is what I'm learning, this is what I'm going through, and this is what I've, experienced along the way. And so, again, just if you're not quite there yet, hey, you'll get there. You'll get there as time goes on, and you'll learn that, hey, every fight is not worth fighting. Sometimes you have to learn to just sit back and go, okay, I'll let you have that one. But you'll know exactly when it's time to be able to stand up and say, okay, this is the one right here that I got to definitely stand on my own 2 feet. And when you get that opportunity, take it. Take it. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close this out as always. For those of you guys who may not have seen the post or may not have noticed, I actually just started my YouTube page, and it's actually going to be entitled the same thing as the Facebook page, blind_justice, the way I see it. So if you haven't done so already, please go on, view, like, subscribe to the channel, and keep supporting me, and I'll keep supporting you guys and hopefully helping you guys along the way. So thank you guys, and you guys take it easy. Bye. Hey guys, this is Dominic, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in to some more of my content. But if you haven't done so already, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my Facebook page, Blind Justice. See you guys on the next go round.